Round. Fight!
Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm taking a look at 2011's Nobel Gundam from G Gundam. So because the high-grade Nobel Gundam is, well, without a single doubt, an icon amongst gunpla. There is nothing like this, and it's an absolute fan favorite. I decided to put a little bit more than the standard amount of effort into this. Not a whole lot, because it is a simple kit. There are only 3 bags of runners inside of this box, so there isn't really all that much building to do. This isn't actually my first time having a Nobel Gundam. My wife actually built one, must be like 10 years ago now, must be actually 2011 when we first moved to Japan. And from that build, I did notice a lot of issues with the color accuracy. The one glaring one that absolutely killed me was the fact that it wasn't color accurate on the inside of the hair. And no matter what way you kind of look at this particular kit, you're going to see that. So I decided to paint some parts. I just sprayed the hair on the underside on the runner using Citadel's Lead Belcher paint. The way I painted this was actually done a super simple kind of way. What I did is I just sprayed it while it was still on the runner with Citadel's Lead Belcher paint. Then once it was dried after 2 coats, I just used a hobby knife to scrape around the edges to get that nice, clean, perfect edge. But because I was painting that, I decided to use some other paints, which were Tamiya's TS52 Candy Lime Green on the green sections, so I did not use any of the stickers in this build. So that means the camera, the gem in the chest, and the eyes are all done in that candy lime green. I then used Tamiya's TS101 base white to get the white pinstripes on the sailor uniform. I actually thought you were meant to put white entirely along the edge of this, so the way I did it, once again, was sprayed it on, scraped it off with a hobby knife. Lastly then, instead of the red stickers in this, I used Tamiya TS95 Pure Metallic Red, and this is for the leg garter and the thingamabobber around its neck. I also used the base white on that thingamabobber around the neck to undercoat it first so the red showed up better. Finally then, I did pan line it using the Pour style panel liner pens, but I say be careful with these because the joint sections of Nobel Gundam are made out of ABS plastic, which will break if you use these kind of panel liners. Just use it on the outer armor, especially if you've top coated it. And speaking of which, I am totally out of matte flat top coat and cannot get any anymore. That's what I wanted to do as the final step. So I had a lot of scratched up areas where I'd sanded away some parts, especially on the blue parts of the sailor uniform. So what I actually did, and if you scratch up something by sanding it, a nail buffer is a brilliant thing to get rid of those scratches. You can use one like this one right here, which just has a whole bunch of multiple sides, which are just kind of sanding areas with multiple grits, and finally a little bit of a kind of buffer surface, which takes most of those scratches out and it looks pretty damn good. But yeah, once again, a very simple kit with a little bit of extra effort, and it's gone a long way. This looks fantastic. Really wish I had that flat top coat though. So yeah, after a couple of hours of nub cutting, snapping, sanding, painting, assembling, well, I got a little bit hungry for some Japanese snacks. This video was sponsored by Gaikotsu, the monthly Japanese snack box subscription service that delivers original assortments of Japanese snacks and tea pairings. Gaikotsu honors Japanese heritage by working with the 100-plus-year-old family snack makers to deliver authentic Japanese exclusive snacks to your door. Every month you'll receive a box with a different theme, so snacks will always be different. It's a gourmet journey through Japan. Previous themes included Haunted Harvest, Tokyo Summer, and Winter in Hokkaido. A new themed box shipped from Japan with free shipping to the US. This month's theme was Summer Fruits. Nothing screams Japanese summer fruits quite like Suica, and these cute chewy watermelon gummies are all the sweetness with none of the seeds. Light and puffy peach white chocolate Momotaro Saku Puff chocolate, pure gummy petite super sour Japanese grape flavored gummies, my third favorite from the bunch, and these gave me some fierce Japan nostalgia. And nothing screams awesomely weird Japanese snacks like peach jelly goo. It tastes way better than it looks. Trust me, it's good! Next up on the Gaikotsu platter is my #1 favorite from the box, Okinawa Shikuasa rice crackers, citrus, sharp and savory, and umami. Next up, a squishier, more delicate citrus, Mikan Mochi, the softest, orangiest squish around. A Japanese snack box is never complete without a big old rice cracker, and there's no better combination than yuzu and chili. And speaking of yuzu, some chewy and tart actual yuzu peel, candy to sweet perfection. On to the final round of summer snacks, and to say that I needed a tea break was an understatement. Airy and moist orange stick cake with real orange slices, Hokkaido melon and sweet white bean paste anpan was my number 2 favorite, a unique take on a classic. Soft lemon cream sandwich cookies that border on little cakes, and finally 5 packs, yes 5 whole packs of Otona no Otsumami, which pretty much means adult beer snacks. I couldn't finish all of these, not in one sitting. First-time customers will receive the Seasons of Japan so you can taste an entire year of Japanese snackage all in one bokusu. For the month of June only, you can use the code MECHA20 to get a huge 20% off your first authentic Japanese snack box from Bokusu. Link is down there and the code in the description. So jumping right into the review proper, here is the high-grade Nobel Gundam with absolutely everything that it comes with. So that is the stand, a whole bunch of hands, 2 of which are for using with God Gundam, that is the big ones in the back. We've got 2 beam ribbons as well as 1 unique, well, beam effect part, I guess. We're going to take a look at this later. Next up then, we've got a weight for the beam ribbon to keep it down, and finally here are the stickers, which I did not use any of, but there's what they look like in case you want to know. Anyway, let's check out the high-grade Nobel Gundam itself. So jumping right into that full 360-degree spin, and I'll stick up the original art of Nobel Gundam up on the right as well, so you can compare and contrast yourself. I did notice just there that I did not paint the Vulcans in red because I didn't know they were meant to be in red, but it's too late now. Anyway, I can see why this particular high grade is a massive cult hit, because it is such, I don't know how to describe it. One, it's a giant mecha pretty much based on Sailor Moon, and the second aspect is no corners were cut with this whatsoever. Besides the fact that the underneath of the hair is not in the accurate color, easy to fix by the way. This is incredible. Sure, some stickers are required for the whites on the sailor uniform segment. The green section on the front of the bow, by the way, I only painted the internal part. There are 2 stickers for using in here. One is for covering the entire area like the actual Nobel Gundam should be, and one just for in there. I decided to go with that because it was easier to mask off. But yeah, no corners cut whatsoever, and let's go on in a little bit closer for a, well, closer look. So there are a lot of designs in G Gundam that are just off the wall and in general a lot of fun, and the same goes for this right here. Again, it is pretty much just Sailor Moon the mecha. So once again I have to say this is incredible. This, for a 2011 kit, really does hold up, and I mean that literally. This has ABS on ABS plastic for all of the joints. This will not fall apart. Sure, the feet may pop off every now and then because that is ABS on polystyrene, but the ABS on ABS is as grippy and as strong as a model kit can get. That means there may be some break risks if you're not very careful with the wrists and maybe the shoulders, but besides that, this is a rock solid kit. All the detailing is super nice. The lines in the hair are great to panel line. There's lots of different panel lining opportunities all over the place, and this is just so unique. There's no denying it. And once again, no corners cut at all. With just a little bit of extra effort, and this took me about maybe 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, you can get yourself one premium looking, ridiculously unique looking high grade. So jumping back to the beginning of the review as usual, and there's everything that comes in here. So let's take a look at every accessory one at a time. So first off, we've got these pair of hands, which aren't for using with this kit. These are for using with the high-grade God Gundam, just like what you're seeing right here on the side of the box. So once again, I do not have the God Gundam, so I cannot do that in this review. As for the expressive hands we have in here, we've got the widespread hands at a little bit of an angle that we've seen throughout this review so far, and we have one left hand doing the peace sign. To swap these out, it's just a simple ball joint attachment, so pop off the ones you don't want and pop in the ones that you do. So speaking of hands, next up we've got a pair of beam saber holding hands. So these attach in just the exact same way as every other hand so far, and then the beam sabers just slot into those in the old standard way. What isn't the old standard way is the beams that we have in here. These are just, I don't know how you describe them, just flat pieces of plastic which are very wibbly and wobbly. At first I thought this was a little bit on the odd side, like this looks cheap and not so great, but when you actually see them a bit in motion, they look pretty cool. They do have a bit of a ribbony vibe to them. They do look like they would be sharp, deadly, and I don't know, can you be sharper than a regular beam? as well as the standard length, beam saber standard length ones we're looking at right now, we also have these ones right here, which I left attached to the sticker style backing that these have, just to show what they're like. So these peel off of this sheet just like so. This whole big coiled Uzumaki section right here, this has 3 different beams. The closer the beams are to the center, the more coiled and tightly coiled they are. Whereas the ones towards the outside are, as you would guess, more of a looser coil. In order to attach these into the beam saber handles, you do need to do what the instruction says right here, which is bend 2mm at the end of them, otherwise they will not hold in the handle. The way I did this, and I find an easy way to do this, is hold them with your nippers like so. Not tight enough that you'll end up snipping them, just tight enough so you can hold onto them and maybe put a little bit of a crease into them. Then if you push down towards the blade, you will eventually get yourself your nice straight bend, and there you go, you've pretty much got it then. Slide it into the handle and you're good to go. At this point, I might as well get her up onto that action base. This is the one that is included, very similar to what we would have seen with the same era kits. So around 2011 and before, we would have seen a lot of 00, and that's exactly what this is. This time it's just in a kind of semi-opaque, clear-ish white. I will mention one kind of negative aspect about this kit is the fact that it does require a base adapter, which is a 3mm peg hole into a flat slot. So if you lose this, you're pretty much screwed. Once she is up on those base and we've got those ribbons attached, first up here is the super coily one. Now this is, like I said, super duper coily. And springy and very unique, what can I say? For the other side, I'm going to use the loosest coil, which is very, very long as well. So this can wrap all the way around her and reach down to the ground. And if you are having a little bit of issue with it kind of not really lying the way that you want, Bandai did include what they refer to as the ribbon use weight, as in a weight to use with the ribbon. This isn't actually all that heavy, however, so most of the time this won't really do much good at all. I do recommend maybe gluing something heavy into it, like a coin, magnet, stone, something like that to hold it down, but in the end this is what you get, and I have to say this was quite a creative idea on Bandai's part, and it works very, very well. You might find that the ribbons slide out of the handles every now and then. Maybe you might want to glue them in, thicken it up, or maybe bend them over twice, not once. So now moving on to the final part of the review, which of course is the articulation. And first off, I'll mention the build on this is solid, so solid. Like I've mentioned already, a lot of the joint sections, well, all of the grey parts are made out of ABS plastic, which means they can be a little bit stiff to bend, so be careful, but at the same time they will always hold a pose. The ankles, however, these do like to fall off quite a bit. Once again, this is more so just from not really paying attention to what you're doing, like I always do. So be careful with those while posing. So as for the neck here, it is double jointed. That is a hinge at the bottom and a ball joint up top. So you might notice there is no hair on here. That is because you can get a lot more out of this head without the hair. Also, the hair attaches on via a multitude of joints back here, the main one of which is a ball joint. When you have it attached onto this, it can swing around like a ball joint, well, tends to do. But it isn't the strongest around. I do recommend reinforcing this either by tightening it or something like that, or it will keep on dropping when you try to pose it. However, once all the joints are locked in and it's locked to the back of the head, this is going nowhere. It may block some of the looking around, but you can just disjoint it again like so, and you can look all the way up, look all the way around. Very smartly designed. At the shoulder inside the torso, this does not move. It also is not a polycap, it is ABS plastic, so it is quite the tight joint, so be careful with that. Once it's in, we get everything you get from a ball joint. Usually that is the full shoulder roll, full 360-degree spin, and a little bit of forward and back at the shoulder. Next up, there's the arm all the way up, a little above, parallel to the ground. Of course, you can flip the shoulder around to get that up higher, but doesn't look as good. Full 360 spin at the upper arm, single joint bend at the elbow, and we've got a ball joint then at the wrist. Moving down a little bit further, and we've got the tiniest little ab crunch, not too much at all, a little bit, but not nothing. The side-to-side crunch here is a little bit better than we got from front to back. And finally, we've got the full 360 rotation at the waist. Down to the skirtings, and we've got a up and down at the front skirting armor. This is not a ball joint, just a rotation. Side skirting armor is a bit of a hinge that moves up and down only, and around back then, paralyzed on premium butt flap. The hip joints are those ones that can rock up and down like so. Once again, these are ABS, so it can be a bit stiff. Next onto the kicks, there's the kick all the way up to the front, so not bad at all. As for the kick out to the back, we've got it blocked a little bit by that unpremium butt flap. And can Nobel Gundam pull off the splits? No bother whatsoever. We've got that full spin at the upper thigh for that big old drill kick. a single point bend at the knee, so this definitely could be better. So now moving down to the ankle, and there's the pivot all the way to the front and to the back. The front is a little bit blocked by that armor on the ankle, but out to the back you get quite a bit. As for the side to side, it's okay, not great. And on the whole, the articulation in here, once again, just like I said, is okay, not great. We've got some good joints, we've got some limited joints. It is solid as a rock for the most part, besides those ankles like to pop every now and then. But on the whole, pretty good. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and once again, this is one of those kits that's quite hard to rank for a multitude of reasons, so I'm just gonna go through it in my head out loud right now. Aesthetically, this kit looks great and like nothing else. They really did nail the Nobel Gundam right here. There is some color inaccuracies here and there with the green, some white on the Sailor Scout uniform parts, and the biggest one to me is the inner side of the hair, but once again, it only took an hour and a half. But once again, it only took about 2.5 hours or so of extra effort to make it look much better. When it comes to the accessories, there isn't a whole lot in here besides those beam ribbons as well as some hands, but what more would you be looking for? The beam ribbons are very unique and they look quite cool, honestly. We do get a stand too. And finally then, when it comes to the articulation, it is good, not great. And for 2011, and the fact that this thing maintains its seamless looks, I do think it is definitely a plus. So technically this right here should be silver tier because it's basically pretty much standard on every aspect, but because of its uniqueness and the fact that there is nothing else like this, and the fact that everything about it is executed in a really good looking way, this kit is getting reinforced to gold, and it's a cult gunpla classic for a reason. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to Gaikotsu for supporting the channel by sponsoring this video. And as always, I'll see you next time. As always, thank you so much for watching. Without you guys, all of this would not be possible, these videos would not be possible, and special thanks to those helping out over on Patreon and on the channel memberships, including Mr. Winter, Joseph Kukluk, Tito Lewis, Gunpla Chef, Bakito Official, Van Fawn, Sean T, Caleb Engelhardt, Brian Perez, Tyler Sanders, and Craig Jerry.